This is the Grind to Greatness, episode 53. Alright, guys, so I know it's been a while since I've done one of these types of sessions, but today I did a ball mastery, finishing, and also a bunch of speed work session. This session included a lot of fast footwork and also a lot of acceleration training and change of direction a little bit as well. And then, like I said before, a lot of just ball mastery, very close, tight space dribbling stuff, and finishing as well. So let's just hop straight into the session here with the first exercise for fast feet. You're just going to be taking 2 steps essentially in between each of the cones like you see here. Now the goal for all these exercises is to take as many little steps as possible, be extremely light on your toes. Do not use the soles of your feet when you're doing these exercises. You want to stay on the balls of your feet. You want to pump your arms, and you just want to move as quickly as possible and try to become faster as you go. Now for each of these exercises, I was doing 4 sets of 10 reps for each of the different movements here. And I was trying to keep the rest pretty minimal, maybe around 15 to 30 seconds between each set, because you want to make sure that you're able to do these while you're tired. And it's also important that you get the same number of reps starting with each foot. So especially with some of these later exercises, which foot you lead with changes the pattern for each foot. So you want to be able to make sure that you're doing 2 starts on each side for each of your feet. Now this movement here was very interesting for me, and like I just said, the foot that I led with really changed how this drill felt for me. For me, when I led with my right foot first, like I'm doing here, it felt a lot more natural than when I led with my left foot, and that's mostly because I'm right foot dominant, I'm guessing. So that's also why it's really important to make sure that you get the equal number of reps in on each side, because working in these awkward and uncomfortable movements help you to be more agile and more adaptable on the field when you need to do these different movements. Now this drill I actually made a couple mistakes in because it gets me a little confused for some reason. I don't know, you guys try this drill out and let me know what you think, but the idea is to step in front of your one foot with, let's say I'm leading with my left foot, I'll step in front of my right foot, and then I'll step behind with my right foot. And then coming back on the other side, I'll step behind first with my left foot, and then forward, and then front with my that foot again. And this one, it's a little bit of a brain twister, kind of messes with, at least for me, messes with my brain and is a little bit hard to coordinate. So I think that this one really helps me with my footwork as well. So you'll see a couple of the mistakes here, but this is how the drill is supposed to look. I had to slow it down a little bit, which that's all right. If you guys need to slow it down to make sure that you get the footwork right, then make sure you do that as well. But this one is a fun one to try. So after you finish that fast footwork, we're now going to move into the acceleration part of the training. And we're going to start out first with some plyometrics and then move into some running mechanics and then the actual acceleration training. You want to be really intentional with these movements and try to get the absolute most out of your session, so make sure that you're putting in 100% effort and going all out. Now for each of these, I just did 3 reps of each of the plyometrics. And something that I like to do for these broad jumps to make it more difficult for myself is just try to lower the amount of jumps that I take to get from cone to cone. So let's say the first time it takes me 4 jumps, I'll try to get it down to 3, even if that may not be possible. That's one way I like to push myself. Now right after those plyometrics, we're going to hop straight into the running mechanics. So first drill here is just a single leg kind of switch hop. You really want to focus on driving quickly, driving your foot into the ground with all 3 of these starting movements. By the way, you want to drive your feet into the ground. You want to focus on switching your legs as quickly as possible, and you want to focus on driving your knees up and angling your toes upward. So if you see on the foot that's lifted up, my toes aren't pointed down, they're parallel with the ground. So that's what you want to do for those 3 exercises. Here, just moving on to nice easy pogo jumps. And now we have an A skip here. Again, driving down, really pumping the arms. B skip, same thing, except, obviously it's a little different. It's hard to explain that one. You kind of just have to try out the technique. But I'm sure you can find a better tutorial on YouTube than me for those B skips if you want to try those. But after those, we're going to get into the actual acceleration part of the training now. So for these, you want to Stagger your feet and then slowly lean forward as if you're going to fall. And right as you're about to fall, that's when you start the sprint and you really focus on projecting your shoulders forward and driving your feet behind you and into the ground. Up next, we're going to incorporate some of the fast footwork with the acceleration. So you're going to have 3 cones set up and just take steps in between each of those like you were in this drill before with the fast feet, and then accelerate out of that. The next movement up, you're going to set up 3 cones in an L formation and jump forwards, land, and then jump sideways, land, and then accelerate out of that landing. You really want to focus on being light on your feet with those jumps and really be fast after you land off the second jump. Now moving on to the last drill of the session, to make sure that we're not just running in completely straight lines the whole time, you're going to set up a zigzag of cones and then work on your acceleration, and this is also going to work on your deceleration and your change of direction. You just want to make sure that you are zigzagging through the cones, not cutting corners, and making sure that you're as fast as possible. Now this next part of the session is completely personal to me, but it's really just a lot of focus work on the body feint. This is something that I really want to focus on over the next coming months. I really want to perfect the body feint, as I know that something to do to help with dribbling is to choose one skill move and just really perfect it. And for me, I've chosen that to be the body feint because I think it's the most versatile and the most useful. You'll see players like Messi perfect at it. So I really wanted to just get some focused work in on that, and I just did a bunch of reps of the body feint. You'll see I'll plug the video that I watched here to kind of get the technique down right for that. I didn't even know there was technique for a body feint, but I saw this video, and watching it really helped me visualize the body feint, and I really liked getting the work in for this because I think it's a crucial part of my game that's lacking right now. But essentially, for those of you that are interested, what I was working on here was leaning over on the one foot, and as soon as I feel like I'm about to fall, kicking that same foot out and catching myself. If you think about it, this makes sense because the body feint is trying to just deceive your opponent into thinking that you're going to go one way and then stopping and going the other way. So it makes sense that the best way to do that is to basically go that way and then stop at the very last moment. That's how it looks the most realistic. Another thing to work on here also is to make sure that you really emphasize dropping your shoulders. An analogy that they used in the video was to imagine that you have 2 plates on your shoulders, and each time you do a body feint, the plates should fall off of your shoulders and you should be able to hear them smashing on the floor. These 2 cues I find super helpful, and you'll see my technique really improves as these reps go on, and I think that I will definitely be doing more work with this in the future and just really trying to perfect this move. Now moving on to the ball mastery part of this session, we're going to start off with this first drill here, which you guys might have seen before if you've seen other ball mastery videos from me. Just a very simple pattern here, which you're going to follow and try to increase the speed at which you do this. Maybe get your head up, try different things out while you're doing it to maybe distract yourself a little bit. Just make the drill harder for you, because I've noticed that once you do these drills for a little bit, you kind of get it down, and what you need to do to make sure that you keep improving is make the drills harder and harder. So that can be, like I said, looking up, making sure that you try the drill faster, move your feet quicker, stuff like that. Now this next drill is very simple, just following this pattern. This is working a lot on your soul drags, obviously, and just your ability to quickly change the direction of the ball. Now this next drill is one that I've struggled with me personally for a little bit, but it's an excellent one to work on using the outside of your foot. I struggle, for me personally, when you soul dragging with my left foot and then using the outside of my left foot to touch it through the gate. That's a part of the drill which I really got stuck on, but as I've done it more, I've just seen improvements and it's gotten easier and easier. And that's the point of doing these drills, to just make these movements second nature to you, muscle memory, and that's the value that these provide. And now I am moving into the last part of the session here, which is just some finishing for around 10 to 15 minutes. Working here at the top of the box and really trying to work on getting that whip with my right foot here. What I was really trying to focus on visualizing was just crossing it into the back post. Just thinking about if a person was standing on the back post and I was trying to hit across to them, because I get in my head with the technique here and I really think that I just overthink the technique, And if I was just thinking about crossing the ball in, I would know what to do. But when I try to think about all the little parts of the technique and, really try and focus on those things and over scrutinize, that's when I usually start making mistakes and the form starts to break down. So I just tried during this session to just let it flow more naturally, and I think that was good for me, as I'll let all the finishes run through here. You guys can see the finishes were getting better, and there were some pretty good finishes in here, so I was happy about that. And that was the session wrapped up there. Obviously just packed up my stuff and then headed home. And you guys know I always say stretch after your sessions, and I didn't stretch right at the field here because the grass was wet and I didn't want to get my shorts all wet, but I did stretch at my house, so don't worry about that. Let me know what you guys thought of this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching.